Hey everyone, and one opinion that's dividing the entire Mass Effect community is about half of them want the game to use Andromeda's gameplay style of being more open world, and the other half want to return to the original trilogy's more linear level design. And in this video, I'll go over the fact that potentially Mass Effect 5 could be an open world, either a fully open world or similar to Mass Effect Andromeda where it saw more open planets. So let's get started with the video.
Lockhart QT.
Although some fans prefer the corridors and linear action of Mass Effect 2 and 3, some fans such as myself loved the more open world and explorable planets of Mass Effect 1 and Mass Effect Andromeda. Although Mass Effect Andromeda had its issues and more open world led to more glitches and less polish. Its open world idea could be reused for the next Mass Effect game, and acting if Andromeda never happened would do all the work that went into it a disservice. While the story wasn't good enough compared to the original Mass Effect trilogy to win most players over, it did leave a lasting impression on some fans such as myself. One gameplay approach that Mass Effect 5 could take is being fully or semi-open world with its planet structure. For those who have never played Mass Effect Andromeda, unlike the original trilogy's more corridor, linear, cover-based shooter perspective, Andromeda focused more on open planets, inspired by the explorable planets in Mass Effect 1. One problem that I and a lot of players had with Mass Effect 1's explorable planets was how empty some of the planets felt back in 2007, and due to the development back then, they essentially had to get around some of the more technical sides by populating the planets with random collectible side quests and the same copy and paste enemy bases. In Mass Effect Andromeda, they wanted to go back to this approach and being inspired by it, but essentially they wanted to go back to the approach of having bigger planets, bigger explorable areas, by including planets such as Eos, Kadara, and is it Vold? I think it was called, the ice planet from Andromeda, to name a few. The planets were structured like a typical open world by having non-combatable areas filled with towns, ports, NPCs, give side quests, talk to gain more lore for your codex, etc., and then having more open fields to fight in, explore, collect resources using pods, and much more. And in Mass Effect 5, we could be seeing the return to this approach, and it seems like some of the fan base agrees. Even my viewers comment on my videos saying that they want to return to more open levels design. And while you always have the option to travel around the galaxy and solve several side quests at your own pace, the entire story of Mass Effect Andromeda required you to go to a planet such as Eos or Vold and finish enough story quests to raise the viability level of that planet before you could proceed with the plot. However, unfortunately, these tasks got very repetitive, and both planets and their settlements looked and felt mostly empty. To compare it to the original trilogy, gathering resources was mainly an endgame requirement. One thing that Mass Effect 5 will have to learn from Mass Effect Andromeda though is that Andromeda, the game had you doing the same things over and over before it lets you get on with the plot. A better version of this could be, however, opening more activities on the planet straight away in Mass Effect 5 without limiting it to story progression. Although yes, some progression will be needed, you could just go straight on a planet and do side quests straight away, or just explore to your leisure. A less open world in the style of the previous Mass Effect games would help tighten the plot, which would allow for more interesting missions. But does this mean that an open world couldn't work out for Mass Effect 5? Well, I think that an open world could work for Mass Effect 5, because although with the resurgence of the Legendary Edition for Mass Effect 1, 2 and 3 being remastered, and obviously more people are now playing that, I do think that if they bought an open world similar to how they did it in Andromeda in Mass Effect 5, it could definitely work. For example, as long as the game is still heavily story focused, more open world planets could be a blessing, as I think revamping the combat system from Andromeda would work really well in more open areas, because let's be honest, Mass Effect Andromeda's combat is the best in the series and would not just work in it really just would not work in tighter linear levels, and I'd rather see a return of Andromeda's combat system than the original trilogies. And due to its design, I think it's more likely that we'll see more open world areas in Mass Effect 5, plus it would be cool to explore some areas on familiar planets returning from the original trilogy, such as Tuchanka, Thessia, and more planetary that just were based on the original trilogy's more linear level design. However, I think that if you put them into a more open world type area, I think that would be brill. I think one idea that they could also use that I'm just coming up with now is if it was a seamless open world. And what I mean by that is you would still go to the galaxy map and select a planet. However, it would be more of you wouldn't have any loading areas between areas. You wouldn't have to just like select the planet and then go to a particular area. You could just actually just load into the planet, and then even the non-combat areas and the sort of more open fields with combat exploration, resource mining, etc., that was all connected, so you can essentially explore semi-open worlds on the planets. So anyway, do you think we'll see a return of open world planets like in Andromeda, or a return of more linear level design seen in Mass Effect 2 and 3? Tell me in the comments. And whilst we're here, what did you guys think of Mass Effect 1's approach to this, where you'd go to a planet and do that? And for more Mass Effect videos, stay glued to the channel, as I have lots more Mass Effect 5 videos coming soon. And thank you so much for watching in the new year, and I hope you all have a great day. Bye everyone.